The leopard appeared from nowhere. One moment, Daniel Keating was driving alone on a remote dirt road in Zambia, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. The next moment, a shape materialized from the tall grass and walked directly into the middle of the road. Daniel hit the brakes. The Land Cruiser stopped 15 feet from the animal, and Daniel's breath stopped with it. A leopard, female. Her spotted coat caught the last light of the day like scattered gold coins. She was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that makes your chest ache. But something was wrong. She wasn't running. She wasn't crouching to hunt. She wasn't doing any of the things leopards do when they encounter vehicles. She was walking toward him, slowly, deliberately. And her belly, Daniel noticed it now, was swollen, heavily pregnant, so pregnant that her movement seemed labored, careful, each step measured. She reached his vehicle, and she pressed her body against the door. Daniel didn't move. He was 54 years old, a geology consultant from Scotland who'd been working in African mines for 3 decades. He had seen leopards before, always from a distance, always fleeing, always gone before he could fully register their presence. Leopards were ghosts. You didn't see them unless they wanted you to. This one wanted to be seen. She leaned her full weight against the driver's door, her body pressing into the metal. Daniel could feel the pressure through the door panel, could hear her breathing, heavy, labored, something wrong with the rhythm. Her eyes found his through the window, and Daniel saw something he would never forget. Fear. Not the fear of a predator confronting a threat, the fear of a mother who knows something is wrong. Daniel had grown up on a sheep farm in the Scottish Highlands. He had helped birth hundreds of lambs. He knew the signs, the restlessness, the heavy breathing, the desperate search for a safe place. He knew what labor looked like, even when it was happening in a body completely different from anything on his family's farm. This leopard was in labor, and something was wrong. Her contractions were visible now, waves of tension rippling across her swollen belly. But nothing was happening. No progress, no birth, just pain again and again with no relief. She was stuck.
Easy there. I'm coming.
Daniel understood, with the clarity that cut through every rational thought, what was happening. The cubs couldn't come out. Something was blocking them. A position, an angle, something that her body couldn't solve alone. In sheep, they called it dystocia, obstructed labor. Without intervention, it was fatal. For the mother, for the babies, for everyone. The leopard pressed harder against his door, and Daniel realized she wasn't just seeking shelter. She was asking for help. Daniel's mind raced through every logical reason not to open that door. Leopards were the most dangerous of the big cats. Pound for pound, they were stronger than lions. They could kill a human in seconds. They were unpredictable, wild, driven by instincts that had been honed over millions of years. And this one was in pain. Animals in pain were even more dangerous. But she was also looking at him. Through the window, her amber eyes held his with an intensity that felt like conversation, like she was saying something she had no words for, like she was trusting him with something she had never trusted anyone with before. Daniel thought about the lambs he saved on his father's farm, the ones that would have died without human hands reaching in, turning, adjusting, giving life a chance to find its way out. He thought about his daughter, born 23 years ago in a hospital in Edinburgh, the cord wrapped around her neck, the doctors moving quickly, calmly, saving her life while Daniel stood helpless in the corner. He thought about what it meant to need help and have no one to ask. And he opened the door. The leopard didn't attack. She didn't run. She turned her body so that her hindquarters were facing Daniel, and she lay down on the dusty road beside his vehicle, offering herself, trusting him completely. Daniel knelt in the dirt beside a wild leopard in active labor, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. His hands were shaking. His entire body was screaming at him to get back in the vehicle, to drive away, to let nature take its course. But her eyes found his again. Please. Daniel reached out. His hand touched her flank, warm, soft, the muscles underneath rigid with contraction. She flinched but didn't move, didn't growl, didn't turn. She let him touch her. Daniel could feel the cub. It was right there, at the edge of the birth canal, but turned wrong, shoulder first instead of head first, stuck in a position that would never allow passage. He had done this 100 times with sheep, but never with a leopard, never with an animal that could kill him if she changed her mind. Daniel took a breath, and he reached in. The leopard screamed. Not a roar, not a growl, a scream, high-pitched, primal, the sound of a mother in agony. Daniel almost pulled back, almost retreated, almost let fear override everything. But he felt the cub move under his fingers, tiny, alive, fighting to be born. He pushed gently, rotating, finding the angle that would allow the head to come first. The leopard's body resisted, then yielded, then pushed with a force that surprised him. And suddenly, everything happened at once. The first cub emerged, wet, motionless, wrapped in membrane. Daniel's hands moved on instinct. He cleared the face, the nose, the mouth, rubbed the tiny body, felt for breath, for movement, for life. Nothing. He rubbed harder, stimulated the chest, willed the small heart to beat. And then, a gasp, a tiny, perfect gasp. The cub was breathing. The leopard turned her head and looked at what Daniel was holding. Her eyes went wide. Her body shifted toward her newborn with a desperation that transcended species. Daniel placed the cub against her belly. She began to lick it immediately, rough, urgent strokes that stimulated circulation, that cleaned, that welcomed. But she was contracting again. There were more.
Give up on me.
The second cub came easier. Daniel guided it out, cleared its airway, placed it beside its sibling. The mother's tongue never stopped moving, alternating between her newborns, cleaning, warming, claiming. The third cub was the smallest. It emerged limp, silent, with no sign of life. Daniel held the tiny body in his hands, no bigger than a kitten, spots barely visible on translucent skin. He rubbed, stimulated, breathed gently on the small face, trying to trigger some response. Nothing. The leopard was watching him. Her cleaning had stopped. Her eyes were fixed on the motionless cub in his hands, waiting. Daniel refused to give up. He turned the cub over, rubbed its back, compressed its tiny chest with 2 fingers, mimicking the rhythm of a heartbeat. 1 minute passed. 2. The mother made a sound, low, mournful, the beginning of grief. And then the cub coughed, a tiny, miraculous cough. Its legs moved, its mouth opened, a thin, reedy cry emerged, the first sound it had ever made. Daniel placed it with its siblings. 3 cubs, all alive, all breathing, all pressing against their mother's belly, searching for warmth, for milk, for the life that had almost been denied them. Daniel sat in the dirt beside his vehicle as darkness fell. He couldn't leave. The leopard was too weak to move, still recovering from the labor that had nearly killed her. The cubs were too new, too fragile, too vulnerable to the hyenas and jackals that hunted these roads at night. So he stayed. He turned on his vehicle's headlights, creating a bubble of light in the African darkness. He sat with his back against a tire, 3 feet from a wild leopard and her newborn cubs. She watched him through the night, not with suspicion, not with the wariness that leopards usually showed toward humans, with something else. Around midnight, she did something that stopped Daniel's heart. She picked up one of her cubs, the smallest one, the one he had brought back from the edge of death, and she placed it against his leg. Then she returned to the others. Daniel looked down at the tiny creature pressed against his thigh, warm, breathing, alive because he had refused to give up. The mother was sharing her child with him, not abandoning it, not rejecting it, sharing it, as if to say, This one is yours too. You gave it life. You are part of its story now." Daniel didn't move for hours. He sat in the darkness with a leopard cub against his leg, watching the mother nurse her other two, feeling the weight of something he couldn't name pressing against his chest. The sun rose slowly over the Zambian plains. Pink light spilled across the savanna, turning the dust to gold, the grass to fire. The leopard stood, testing her legs, finding her strength returning. Her cubs mewled at the disturbance, tiny sounds of protest, of hunger, of life demanding to continue. She gathered them one by one. The first two she carried to a thicket of dense brush nearby, a hiding place, a den, somewhere safe from the eyes of predators. Then she returned for the third, the small one, the one that had been placed against Daniel's leg. She approached him slowly, not with fear, not with aggression, with something that looked almost like ceremony. She stood before him for a long moment. Her amber eyes found his. "Thank you." Daniel felt the words, even though she didn't speak them, felt them in the way she held his gaze, in the deliberate pause before she picked up her cub, and in the final glance she gave him before she carried her smallest child into the brush. Then she was gone. The thicket swallowed her, the grass closed behind her, the savanna returned to its ancient silence. And Daniel sat alone on a dirt road, covered in birth fluids and dust, watching the place where a leopard had disappeared with 3 cubs that should not have been alive.